welcome. Florence and Tanja, we're so excited that you're here today with us. We are actually talking today, the title of our podcast is Equality in a World of Inequality. And so we're so excited you're here. And I want to give those of you that are watching a little intro on our guests today. Tanja Bauer-Glueck is a business and leadership coach from Mainz, Germany. Welcome, Tanja.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Florence, born in Haiti, now lives in Vancouver, Canada, and works as a translator in her own company and as a translation volunteer for Supreme Master Television.
Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
Florence.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are on all time zones here today. That's awesome. Very great. So, Tanja, as I said, our title for this podcast today is Equality in a World of Inequality. And so we were wondering, what changes have you noticed in the world in terms of greater equality?
Well, I think that at the moment it's really tumultuous. I mean, there is so much happening with regards to equality, which kind of started a year ago or 2 years ago, where you really find so many things changing, like human rights coming more upfront than ever before, things that were, well, kind of low are really rising up at the moment. I mean, what for me, what was the most interesting thing is what happened in the US actually in the last month of Trump's presidency, you know, with all those horrible things happening, with people get shot, with George Floyd to just name one. And people were really on the uprise. They were going on the street, and this was a worldwide demonstration of now it's happening, now things are changing. And this was something that really, well, really gave me the courage to believe in our future, you know, that there is awareness now more than ever. And of course that goes for women and Black women, you know, women who own companies as well.
Yes, I do see that as our era to be one of tremendous shifts. And shifts is a minor word even to express, I think, it's a complete overhaul, I think, of what we know as civilization. And the good part of it for me is that I know it will lead to something, a new world, to something uneven imagined yet, and for the better and for more constructive. So women have gained a lot up to where we are now at 2021. There are still inequalities, yes, there are. But when we compare to what was in the past, I remember Dada Vaswani, a spiritual leader of India, very extraordinary person, said that every era, especially when we have great spiritual upliftment, there is a change. So for example, there was a time where we had to get rid of men oppressing men, and that was mainly to be done with the notion and concept of slavery that was done. And then there was also a time where it was women that we had to liberate, to provide them with an opportunity to be equal partners, equal contributors to society, to progress, to science, to in every domain where we know that women can definitely bring betterment. So, and that took place. So we had women's liberation. So he said that now is the time to free ourselves as humans, both men and women. So to reach that equality status, but also to give it to others around us.
Yeah.
So I think the next stage is to free the animals, to free all the other cohabitants that we have. And then at that moment, we won't need to even remember there was such a thing as inequality. Till then, we still have work to do, yes. And I'm thinking of a poignant case, and you'll forgive my emotion at that moment when I reflect on a woman in Haiti. Traditionally, we have both great powers and, of course, great responsibilities, because women are interested to be the ones who will bear children, but also raise them. So most of Haitian men will tell you, okay, I'll check with my mother what she thinks of that. And even their wives complain that your mother has too much influence on you. But so it is. So it's not that we are a matriarchal society per se, no, but we are present. We are present, but I don't think we actually realize the powers we have. And we are, free to be and to engage into anything that we want in terms of career, in terms of position, and so on. For example, Haiti had in 1991, we had a woman president. This has not yet happened in great other countries. We had voting rights way back, but still, in terms of economic capacities, there is a lot of room to grow there. So the future for women, I'm thinking of, for example, these yet to come grandchildren. I know their world won't have to worry about inequalities. For the moment, my motto would be, in every little way, whatever little action I can do to help a sister, whoever country, culture, background, language, any framework that she will come from, if I can help that person progress or solve a need that that person may have, as a woman, to me, this is maybe the best way to even out inequality.
That's very interesting. And what both of you said, the two things that stuck out to me was the one, giving it to others, because I believe that it is our responsibility to not only create that change for ourselves and some of us are further along than others, but also giving back to those that we can help in that process to navigate through some of that. Yeah. And the second component that I am hearing of what you said, which I'm curious to hear both of your thoughts, it's that the power we have, right? So often we feel like something is happening to us, or it's happening in the outer world. And how much of that do we really as individuals have, in your opinion, control over creating that change? Or in other words, what actually creates the change? Is it what's in our power? And clearly, as Tanja, as you were saying, people are going out, they were raising their voices, they had their voices heard. And so is it what we do? Is it the action we take and the change that we have internally? Or is it what is happening outside? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's about what we do. It's about how we behave and go out and present ourselves to the world, because I believe that this can only change once we are out there having our voices heard and having our opinions heard, and being able to speak our truth also without being afraid of, having any negative things coming up to us when we do that. And I think especially being a woman of color, I see that here in Germany, it's always a thing of me going out there and having to say a little bit more than a white woman would have to, it's about when I go into a shop, people look at me when they don't know me. They look at me and they are a little bit not afraid, but insecure. Do I have to speak English now? what does she want? You know, that there is kind of the impression, well, she's not from here. Even though I was born and raised here in Mainz. In fact, within the family, I am the only one who is really of Mainzer culture, as you would say here. So this is, people wait for me to say something, to hear, oh, she's speaking German, oh, she's speaking German fluently, and oh, maybe she also has kind of a dialect that you know, she's from here, then everything is fine. But there is always this point of me giving more information about myself before we could start a conversation.
So I'm curious, Tanja, about, you are a business and leadership coach. So how do you coach women to empower themselves? How do you do that? I'm very curious about that.
Well, I think the first thing is getting rid of any limiting beliefs that concerns themselves, you know, being, you know, I have to be quiet, I have to be perfect, I cannot go out there and do anything without having thought about it for how many days or something. This for me is the most important part, to get rid of those beliefs that we consumed over our lifetime, especially with women. That's very, very, very important, to tell them you need to be yourself. You don't need to behave like a man would do in the same position, or you don't need to be more quiet or better than. You just can be yourself if you're good at what you're doing. And this is mostly what women need to learn, that they're good at what they're doing. It's all fine.
So I'm curious about whether when you are coaching women of color versus women of no color, how you know, do you coach them differently?
Kind of, because for example, what took me about 43 years to discover, and I'm 45 now, is that everything that I went through is a strength that I have gotten. It's not that I'm less than, or I need to talk more, or I have to prove myself, but being the only colored girl in the family of white people, I always have to say, I'm with that family, I'm the daughter of. And the first thing really is to tell women of color, of course, you're the daughter of somebody, but first of all, you're your own person. And that's a great strength, to finally find that self-conscious to say, I'm my own person. And I really don't need to tell everybody my life story. And this is kind of what I start off with when I'm coaching women of color.
Very good, very good.
So
you
in
know,
a nutshell, the worlds need acceptance now. Acceptance is very important. If I'm living, for example, I'm from New Delhi. If I'm shifted to Mumbai, so after 5 years, when I'm working in Mumbai, in India, so and I'm earning from Mumbai, so you know, automatically my completely soul involved to Mumbai, not Delhi. But the next responsibility from Mumbai people, they should accept that I am from Mumbai. That is the main problem in everywhere, not only country to country, in the city also. Like you are from Manchester, you are from London, so oh, you have Manchester accent, you have some Scottish accent. So they are not accepting. This is the, I think, main problem in this world. What is your opinion?
I would say that we have no power. You know, honestly, I would not devote energy to what I cannot change. In other words, a person, if someone was coming to me with discriminatory, let's say, remarks, or being derogative about me, or racist, or anything, I don't know, personally, this is of course my own opinion. I would say to them, I agree with you that you are entitled to your opinion, whatever it is. You see?
Yeah.
And I accept it, but I don't have, well, I accept the fact that you have an opinion, but I don't have to neither agree nor do anything about it, because I'm only responsible for what I do, for how I react to. So that's quite all right. And in the work I do, I am more often than not the only Black person amongst, a convention center with 3,000 delegates. And there are not many people in my city doing the work I do. So I'm used to that feeling that, oh, here is a Black woman out there. But it doesn't, I don't think about it. But what you say, Tanja, made me reflect. If we look at it on a mathematical, I love the point that you made, less than means that there is also, on the other end, if we think that, let's say, women tend to think that they are less than the next door person, or this group or another, person who sets a benchmark for, then it means that on the other side of the equation, there is somebody who thinks that they are greater than. So as Buddha would say, we are only safe when we are in the middle path.
Okay.
And in the middle path means there is no greater than, no smaller than.
Yeah.
So to come to that means the main thing women need to do, in my humble opinion, and they already have it in them, is to look within, within. You see, the power of women, where is it? Well, it's where it's always been hidden, in their hearts, you see, in their hearts. Because if we revert to that power of intuition that is always in us, then we can go back to our role of healers of society. I'm going to take a illustration of that, because I think it will prove my theory that we can do it. We have what it takes to solve the world's problem, maybe more than men. Sorry, Raj, but when I say, you're the only man around us,
I'm curious.
it's not to be discriminatory at all, but it's because I think in the creation we are born with attributes. And this is the mission, I think, the Creator gave us women, is to solve problems. Because he knows problems will happen. Men among themselves, manpower, masculine energy, and all they do, they create problems among themselves, men. And then they would create problem, men, woman. And then they would create problem, men, nature. So we, in as much as we are able to stay inward, to remember that the well of solutions is inside. So we only need a container to go fetch some solutions, to go fetch and then present them, because God knows we have in us that unconditional love. We have the giving power is already there. So our upbringing, our construct in society has taught us that you have to fill the brain, you have to fill the mental with knowledge, and then you can contribute. Or you have to have a certain status in society, a certain economic power, a certain clout or something, and then you can contribute. But not necessarily so. Maybe that's what we need to teach our daughters, that within you is all that is needed for the whole universe. So, for example, I know that it's not about the savoir, the knowledge base. We don't have to be experts. We don't have to be scientists to be able to solve the major crisis of the world. If we go back to the inner wisdom that traditionally women have always had. So for example, if I were, let's say, a minister of energy, economic resources, and agriculture in a country that is undergoing drought, flooding, and all the climate crisis can bring, after all my consultants, experts, and all these people have tried to do their best to come up with reports, research, analysis, data, you name it, and we still have the problem, I would simply ask the village woman, please gather, sit down. I need to be able to have an hour with you. Tell me, this is a situation. That's what's happening right now in the town, in the country. What would you do?
Wow. Yes.
And they are very likely to tell you, well, you know what? We have drought because very simply, we can't retain, our trees have been uprooted. So the soil can't, manage the influx of water, or the riverbanks have not been maintained properly. And through one simple fact, analyzed with the logic of lived experiences, then solutions can be implemented. An example of the power of women, the power of their hearts, is in the early 18th century in the US. There was not only the Confederation War happening, but there was a lot of strike between Indian tribes and themselves. So there was a lot of feuding. So Washington at the time, so what we call Washington, the government, the American government in those days, the different states, no one could solve what was one of the worst civil wars ever. So what the First Nations then did is they asked women of different tribes to create in modern day what would be a committee. And these women sat with these leaders and in 1 week put an end to that. Wow,
that's a celebration.
So that's one example. Another one, way back in antiquity, the Greek, there was a Greek island. And in those days, Greece was the USA of today. They were the major power. And and also lots of wars raging, terrible things happening. And the women decided collectively, well, we are going to demonstrate our way. And they went on strike. I won't tell you the details of the strike, but they went on strike. And this was the turning point for peace. So where negotiations failed, diplomatic powers failed, the women came back to their inner wisdom, their intuition, the mission that they know the Creator has given them to be the peace seekers, to be the foundations for a good world. And they used that power, and voila, society prevailed.
I wanted to thank you so much.
Made that